My name is Avans. I am 31 years old. Last night at my sister's wedding, she slapped me violently in front of 500 guests. She humiliated me and called me trash. Everyone around us started laughing. I have not discussed. I did not grant myself. I just stood there in silence. But then suddenly her fiancé stepped forward and shouted, "Do you even know who she is?" And at that moment, the whole room changed. Before I tell you what really happened, please like the channel, subscribe to it, and write your country in the comments. Now let's get started. The music was loud. Soft lights filled the hall, and people laughed, talked, and celebrated. It was a beautiful wedding, the wedding of my stepsister. I was standing at the back of the hall, far away from the crowd, holding a glass of water in my hand that I hadn't even touched. No one noticed me, and to be honest, I preferred that. It had been years since I had last seen this family. Years since the day they had told me to leave and never come back. But when the invitation arrived, I still don't know why. I came anyway. Maybe I wanted to find a degree. Maybe I wanted to see if something had changed. But as I stood there and watched them laugh together, I realized something. Nothing had changed. To them, I was still the same girl they had thrown away. I wasn't always like that. There was a time when I begged for her love. I was young, maybe 16 years old. My mother had died and my father quickly remarried. That's where she came into my life. My stepsister. From the very beginning, she made it clear that I was not one of them. She had everything. Attention, care, love, and I had nothing. If something went wrong in the house, it was my fault. If she cried, I was blamed. If she wanted something, I had to do without it. At first, I remained silent. I thought that if I behaved well enough, if I didn't cause trouble, maybe they would accept me. But that day never came. I still remember the night it all ended. We were sitting at the dinner table when my stepsister suddenly started crying. She said I ruined her dress. I didn't have that, but no one asked me about it. My father didn't even look at me. He just pointed at the door and said, "Just get out of there like that." No explanation, no second chance. I stood there and waited for someone to stop him, for someone to say that it was not true, but no one did it. So I left. That night I lost my home and my family. The first years were the hardest. I had no money, no support, and no one I could trust. I worked in small jobs, cleaned tables, and lived in cheap rooms. Sometimes I didn't even know where I was going to sleep, but I kept going because I had nothing left to lose. Slowly things began to change. I learned. I worked harder than everyone else around me. I failed many times, but I learned from every mistake. And little by little I was building something that no one could take away from me anymore. Years passed, and one day I realized that I was no longer just surviving. I won. The same girl they called useless had built something bigger than they could ever imagine. But I never went back. I never told them. I no longer needed your consent. And now I was standing here at my stepsister's wedding, watching her live the life she had always believed she deserved. She looked happy. Perfect dress, perfect makeup, perfect life, just like always. For a moment I thought maybe I should go. There was no reason for me to stay. But before I could move, I heard her voice calling my names loudly and sharply. Heads turned around. People looked at me. I felt her eyes judgingly and curiously. My stepsister ran towards me. Her heels clicked loudly on the floor. Her smile had disappeared and been replaced by something cold. "You actually came," she said in a voice that was loud enough so that the people nearby could hear it. I did not answer. I just looked at her calmly. She stepped closer. Her eyes scanned my simple dress and my quiet charisma, and I could see it in her face. Abhorrence. "Look at you," she said, shaking her head. "You really thought you could be standing here with people like us." Some guests nearby began to whisper. I felt the tension growing, but I stayed still, just like I used to, and maybe that made her even angrier. She laughed, a sharp, mocking laugh. "Let me guess," she continued. "DM louder so more people could hear it. You came here hoping to get something from me." I didn't say anything. I didn't have to. But in her eyes my silence looked like weakness, and then it happened. Without warning, she raised her hand and slapped me in the face. A sharp noise stops through the hall. For a moment, everything became silent. Then people began to laugh. First quietly, then louder. It was entertainment, as if I was nothing more than a joke. My cheek was burning, but I did not touch it. I did not react. I did not speak. I just stood there in silence. She stepped closer again and lowered her voice, but still loud enough for others to hear. "You don't belong here," she said. "You never have?" And as the laughter continued around me, I realized something. That was no longer the past. I was no longer that helpless girl. Not anymore. But I still did not move. I still didn't say a word because I didn't have to. And just then someone stepped forward. "Do you even know who she is?" The voice was loud and sharp, cutting through the laughter like a blade. The room fell silent, and all heads turned around. I didn't have to look to know who it was, but I did it anyway. The fiancé of my stepsister. He was standing just a few steps away, his eyes fixed on me, not on her, on me. And there was something in his face that I had never seen before. Shock. Real, unmistakable shock. My stepsister frowned in confusion. "What are you doing there?" she asked, trying to laugh it off. "Relax. It's nothing. She's just..." "Stop." His voice was calm this time, but determined. That kind of calm that makes people listen. That kind of calm that makes everything worse. He took another step forward and still looked at me, as if he wanted to confirm something, as if he could not believe what he saw. And then he slowly and carefully said my name. "Miss Vance." A murmur went through the crowd, and people began to whisper. My stepsister froze. "What did you just say?" she asked. He did not answer her. He was still looking at me and waiting. For a moment, I thought about saying something, explaining everything, stopping this before it got out of control. But then I remembered the sound of her hand, the laughter, the words, "You don't belong here." So I said nothing. That was enough. His expression changed from doubt to certainty. He exhaled slowly and ran a hand through his hair. Then he turned to my stepsister, and for the first time there was anger in his eyes. No little anger, no confusion. Real anger? "Do you even have any idea what you just did?" he asked. She blinked, completely confused. "What are you talking about?" she hissed. "You are exaggerating. She's no one." "No one," he repeated. A short, incredulous laugh escaped him, before he shook his head. "No one," he said again, this time quietly. He stepped closer to her and lowered his voice slightly, but not enough. Everyone could still hear it. "This nobody you just beat," he said slowly, "is owner of Van Global Holdings." The words hit hard this time. Everyone heard them clearly and clearly. No confusion, no misunderstanding. V Global Holdings, one of the largest international companies. Millions of contracts, global partnerships, and a name that people respected. And now every single person in this room was slowly turning to me. My stepsister stared at him, then at me, then at him again, and suddenly she laughed. But this time it was not self-confident, it was not mocking, it was nervous, almost desperate. "Stop joking," she said quickly. "That's not funny. I'm not kidding." His voice didn't change a bit. "She's the one who built everything," he continued. "It is the reason why half of our international businesses even exist." Now people really turned around and looked at me. No longer with amusement, no longer with judgment, but with something else. Confusion, doubt, fear. My stepsister shook her head. "No," she said. "No, that's impossible." She pointed at me. "She left the house without anything," she continued. "She could not even take care of herself." "How should she?" "Because she's not the same person anymore," he interrupted her. This hit harder than anything because it was true. He turned back to me, and his tone softened a little. "Why didn't you say anything?" he asked. I looked at him, then at the people around us. All those faces that used to look down on me were now staring at me as if they were seeing a stranger. And I gave the simplest answer. I didn't have to say anything.